People who have worked at Goodwill or other thrift stores etc. and processed donations. What's the craziest thing you found? I had a mate who worked in one of the bigger Lifeline stores in Australia. A woman came into the store with 5 large clear plastic storage boxes and asked to donate them. He looked inside of the boxes and it was thousands of beautifully hand-painted Warhammer pieces. He was shocked and asked her why. They were her son's and she couldn't keep them in the house anymore since his death. My friend said he couldn't accept the donation. He said the whole collection was worth a lot of money. She had no idea. He asked her for all her details and asked if he could try to sell it for her. She agreed. After his shift he went home and took photos of everything and posted it online in an Australian Warhammer forum. Within a couple of weeks everything was sold. He called her and she met him at the store. He told her he had sold it to collectors all around Australia who loved her son's work. He handed her roughly $12,000. She cried, he cried, she offered him half, he said no. She told him she would donate his half to a suicide charity in her son's name and his name. He said it was the best thing he had ever done in his life. That is the most beautiful thing. Coworker found a live hand grenade. Bomb squad was called. Be careful when you donate grandpa shit, people. The workers at my local Goodwill probably would have pulled the pin and threw it in the dumpster out back. That's a quick way to get rid of the trash. A sword used by a Japanese officer in World War II. A suitcase full of adult toys. A coin collection worth nearly $2,000 accidentally left in a cupboard that was donated. A photo album of someone's wedding was donated amongst the belongings of the pastor that married the couple after he passed. The bride happened to be someone I went to school with. I tend to sort books at my store, so I found a few odd things in there. Cash's bookmarks, about $150, a book with carved pages to conceal some jewels and gemstones, a few first edition books on agriculture from the 1800s, lots of handwritten recipes, personal letters, and my favorite, a letter sent in the last mail delivery from Hong Kong before the British returned it to China, affixed with every stamp available at the time and mint versions of each of these stamps enclosed. I recently found a reference letter for a Danish gardener being let go because the woman's husband had died and she could no longer afford to employ him. It was dated March 1937. I worked for a non-profit for seniors that had a charity shop in it. People often just dropped off boxes of stuff they found in their parents' attic. One box had a bunch of letters. Some of them were from World War II, when the man was stationed at Camp Carson in Colorado, and one of them must have been something they were keeping from an older generation. It was a 1914 letter proposing marriage. It was so romantic. He fell in love with her when they went ice skating together. He included an advertisement for some houses they could buy. They were really nice houses, selling for about $1,500. That is so sweet. What do you do with these? Keep for posterity or donate to the library? Do libraries even accept these anymore? Edit, support your local archives, libraries, and historical societies. I've heard museums like very old letters. Great big plastic shopping bag full of cooked spaghetti. No sauce. Probably like 5 kilograms or so. What? Like who says to themselves, "I made too much spaghetti, I guess I'll just donate it to a thrift store"? That is seriously weird. They didn't want to throw it out, it was mom's spaghetti. So, I worked for a charity. We picked up old clothes etc. and sold them in bulk to a thrift chain. When we unloaded the truck, it was common to toss the store employees the bags, and they would catch them before stacking them on racks. Well, one time some idiot put a big chef's knife in a bag of clothes. The store employee caught the garbage bag of clothes, wrapped his arms around it as he caught it, and proceeded to stab himself in the arm. After that, the policies were changed. We had to put the bags at the edge of the truck for them to take off, because our insurance didn't cover us off the truck, and theirs didn't cover them in it. Wow. Hope the Staby recovered well. Edit, wow, this comment blew up. Thanks for the award. I used to sweep the parking lot of a Goodwill and they would toss very interesting stuff in the dumpster. Hundreds of books. Like really expensive ones. Leather-bound sets of classical works from the 1920s, early prints of sci-fi novels. I found a nice collectible copy of Dune recently, family Bibles stacked thick with memories. Food dehydrators, paintings, collectible sports memorabilia, super valuable vintage tools and fixtures. Most of it is just stuff that nobody bothered checking the value on before checking it out, and it's really sad. I found a destroyed collection of old Spalding baseball bats, the oldest being from the 30s. They were left in the dumpster in standing water for days at least. It's sad to see things like that go, maybe because at one point someone loved them very much, and someone else decided that all the care it took to collect these treasures was a waste. A 9-year-old I tutored said that her family made their money by salvaging collectibles from thrift store and pawn shop dumpsters, such as any antique doll head that fetched $1,000. This is how my mother makes her money. She buys thrift store items and resells them. Anything that makes worth anything, clothes, antiques. One time she found a painting at a Goodwill that she bought for $2, and she sold it for over $15,000 to a collector in Asia through Christie's auction in Hong Kong. Funny semi-related story, when my grandmother was still alive and able to walk, she had lost a lot of her sight, so she carried a magnifying glass with her and would pick things up and look at them closely, just to be able to see what they were. My mom would take her to stores like Goodwill just to help get her out of the house, and every time they went to a thrift store, inevitably someone would start following them and picking up what my grandmother put down. It looked like she was inspecting little knickknacks and trinkets super carefully, and if she said something like "this is nice" or "I really like this," someone would pick it up thinking it was valuable. About 10 years ago I worked at a chain thrift store. One morning we got a phone call from this gentleman saying, rather calmly, "I think I accidentally donated my mom." Naturally I had no clue what the duck that meant. Turns out the guy donated his mom's ashes, so he left his number in case we found it. The whole back room went on a hunt because it had turned into this competition on who would find his mom first. We found her, phoned him, and he came and picked her up. We thought that was the last of him, until we were processing some donations a few months later and found his mom again. We phoned him because we still had his contact information. His only reply was, "God damn it, he came and got her," and we never heard from him after that. Edit, to those asking, she was in a big, heavy, bronze, Terry's no way that's not an urn. I'm still not convinced the second time was an accident. In a sea of dirty sex toys, this made me laugh. I work at a thrift store as a donation handler. Gnarliest thing I had seen was a literal stack of mattresses left overnight during off hours. They were disgusting, crawling with bugs and riddled in stains of various shades and hues. Nope, the duck out of that, called my manager and they brought a forklift out to take them to the trash compactor. Just the other day we had a donor drop off a small crate, like a milk crate kind of thing, chock full of hentai. Just today I found a small, marble one-hitter pipe at the bottom of the donation bin. Is there any precautions you take to avoid bed bugs on donations? Or do you just hope for the best? Because duck that. Some states prohibit reselling mattresses because of the fear of bedbugs. My state isn't one of them, but the store I worked for required the name and address of the donor along with a pledge that their donation was bug-free. We still got a mattress with bedbugs in the store. People suck. I knew someone who has a special needs family member who brought bedbugs home from an institution, and it took 2 visits from an exterminator which required them to evacuate the dwelling and heat it up to a high temperature to kill them. They are notoriously hard to eradicate. Duck that mess. Edit, thanks for the tips everyone shared on eradicating these bastards. I'll pass them on to my friend so she doesn't have to shell out a ridiculous amount of money again in the event they return. A dead bat, a switchblade, a pocket watch painted with radium, and an 18th century wolf trap. Edit, I almost forgot a late 1800s book on phrenology. Like. Just a straight up dead bat? Or a taxidermied bat? It was the mummified remains of a bat at the bottom of a plastic bag filled with old, I want to say, varnish supplies. Needless to say, it's the bat I remember best. I was working off some probation at the Salvation Army. Going through the boxes I found $1,000 in the pocket of some plaid pants. Found out they were dropped off from a girl whose dad had died. Tried to contact her again but to no avail. I got to keep it and it helped pay my rent for the month. I was really struggling at that time, so I was very grateful. Some people leave some fortunes behind when they die. My grandpa left behind $500 in his pocket, as listed in his will, as a tip to the people handling his body. Sorry, but I'm imagining your grandpa as a video game character dropping some loot after dying. Lamau. I found $125 in the front pocket of a kid's coat. Had to be like a 3 to 4 years. Next day I found more money in another jacket. Note to self. Go to Goodwill and check the pockets. My friend was checking pockets once at a Salvation Army. Got stung by a hornet. Like shaking trees in Animal Crossing, checking pockets has risks and rewards.